is Larissa Jackson, and welcome to Let's Talk MJ podcast. Today we have episode 7, which is going to focus on the perspective of a non Michael Jackson fan to Michael Jackson events and Michael Jackson shows. Who is my boyfriend? So, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Nadika Bandara, and even though I'm not a Michael Jackson fan, I've been to many Michael Jackson events and shows with Larissa during the last few years. So yeah, I think I can share something from my perspective about it.
Awesome. Okay, so it's not gonna be a regular episode where I ask what's your favorite song, nothing like that, since he's not a fan. So let's just jump right into the theme today. So the first question is going to be the MJ1 Cirque du Soleil was your first ever Michael Jackson show event that you attended. This was 2021 in Las Vegas. So what did you think of the MJ1?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I've been to any Michael Jackson show event, and I think, yeah, it was great. It was a really well performed show, and they had everything planned out well, and the performers were doing a great job, and I think it was really showing a nice storyline about Michael. It was, yeah, I really liked it in general.
Okay, awesome. Next one, also about MJ1. So the same day, before that show, we celebrated Michael's birthday, and we had that meetings, the Q&A with like Kenny Ortega, Sugarfoot, Travis Payne, like people who worked with Michael. And for me, it was just like a magical moment. Like I was just mesmerized to just hear everything that people who has worked with Michael, like all the good things they had to say about him. I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just so excited to be there and hear all of that, right? But that day, you told me that you felt like you were in a cult, right?
Yeah.
And you said that Michael was a great businessman, which I've never thought about it. So could you please like explain your thinking on that?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I, said Larissa that I felt like I was in a cult, because maybe it's just because I wasn't really part of it, since, I wasn't a Michael Jackson fan, but everybody else there were close to Michael, or they were really, really big fans of Michael Jackson. So everybody was excited about, a lot of details, but I wasn't getting any of that because, I'm not a Michael Jackson fan, as well as I didn't know any of the people there. But, as Larissa said, there were a lot of important people to Michael that was in the event. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I said that. I felt it like a cult.
When you said like a cult, did you also think like the way that the people who worked with him, it's almost like they were worshipping Michael, saying like, because I mean, after so many years, even though Michael is dead, they still talk like so great of him. So, like that's how you felt maybe?
Yeah, that was part of it too. People were really talking good about him. I felt like everybody were really thinking highly of him in many ways. So, and people were really, I think, genuinely like loved him. A lot of people there, the things they said, the way they were supporting him. So that's why, it was still, even though he has passed away and it's been many years, still, there's a huge following behind him. So that's what I felt.
And that's the reason you thought that Michael was a great businessman, because he was able to build that connection with his employees, with his right?
Yeah, and his audience and people who work with him.
Yeah. So Michael was just, because that's one thing they talked about, like even though he was Michael Jackson, like when he entered the room and you could feel like that was something extraordinary there. Michael was like so humble that you could just be yourself like with him, something like that. Like that's how they would talk about Michael. So he was a businessman in the sense that he could make the people feel seen, people feel heard, like he could connect with everyone.
I think so. Yeah, that's kind of what I felt.
Yeah, so that's in the end. That's why it was a cult, like how you felt in the end. Yeah. Okay. I get your thinking, but I was just like when he told me that, I was just like laughing so much because like, oh my gosh, I didn't think of that at all, because I guess as a fan you don't really have these perspectives. I don't know, but it was just me. I never thought about it. So next question. You watched the MJ the Musical in New York.
Yes.
That was last year. Yeah, that was last year. What did you like about it and what you didn't like?
So yeah, MJ Musical was really a great show in New York, the Broadway, and that was the first Broadway I've been to, and that was really really well done, really great performance, and the storytelling was great as well. So I really enjoyed the show, even though I'm not a big Michael Jackson fan. So the things I liked about it was how well practiced and planned it was, and the moves of the performers, they were like perfect. I didn't see any mistakes. It was like so synced. The flow was great, and it was a great show. And the one thing I didn't like about it, and I talked with Larissa about it as well, it has nothing to do with the performance or the show. It was about the story, how they showed Michael Jackson's dad as the villain of the whole narrative. But what my perspective was, Michael Jackson became a great artist, and he became the best version of himself because his dad kind of pushed him since he was a child. Maybe it wasn't really a loving push, maybe it was really tough love, but that was my thinking. He's not necessarily entirely a villain. Maybe he didn't treat him well, but still, at the end of the day, he supported him a lot to become who he was. One of the greatest musicians. So,
and we are not gonna get into too much details, because if you have not watched the MJ the Musical, I don't want to give any spoilers for that. But if you have watched, I think you get an idea on what part of the show you can see that are they portraying Joseph Jackson as like the bad guy over here? So that's what he's talking about. Yeah, so moving on to the next question. We went to Chicago, that was 2022, to watch the Who's Bad show. And your favorite guy on the band, by the way, who was performing as Michael on that day, that was James, because I know James is not part of Who's Bad anymore, but at that time we had James as Michael, and then we also have Talib. But you watched James.
Yes.
And then there is I totally forgot his name, I'm sorry, but the saxophone guy, he was your favorite. So just tell me, like, why did you like the saxophone guy so much? And what else did you like about the Who's Bad show?
Yeah, I mean, I liked him because he was so energetic, and he was doing a lot of dance moves, and he was keeping the crowd going. So yeah, I liked it, and I generally like saxophone as an instrument as well. So he was playing it well. So yeah, so that's why I said he's my favorite. So.
He's your favorite, yeah. Did you have any preference? Because so like I mentioned, this guy in Chicago, not the saxophone guy, the Michael Jackson person.
Okay.
This was James. But then last year, here in Minnesota, you also watched Who's Bad, but that was Talib. Did you have any preference, or did you think both shows were good?
Yeah, both shows were good. But I mean, honestly, I enjoyed the Chicago show more. Not necessarily because of the Michael Jackson.
Maybe because of the saxophone guy, because he was not here in Minnesota. That's why.
That was a big reason, but I just like the
Chicago more. Okay, that's fine. Next question. Would you ever pay over $500 to attend Michael Jackson events?
Well, if it was an actual Michael Jackson show, maybe. But I mean, I've been to many shows, and nothing was around that range. A lot of impersonators do shows, and the Broadway was nice. It was somewhat expensive, right?
I think, I don't remember exactly, but probably the range of like 150. Yeah.
Right. Not 500, but
Okay, I guess I just asked this question because I'm thinking of HLA events for either like the Thriller Night event at Michael's house, which was 1,500, which I attended. He didn't want to attend because of this price, but I know that HLA also has the King of Popcorn event, which costs 500. That's why I asked, would you go to an event over $500? Because he doesn't like to spend a lot of money on Michael stuff, but
Well,
but you wouldn't spend like 500 to watch a movie, right? At Michael's house.
no, I don't think so. Well, you go there because
It's Michael's house.
It's Michael's house, and you're a fan, and
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
to see
for sure.
that. But for me, I mean, if it was some performance or show, I would go there to see it, but not just to see something, let's say, nostalgic or memorable about Michael Jackson. If I was a fan, I would have done it. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. So I couldn't convince him to attend like HLA events, but that's okay. So next question. Out of all of these, MJ the musical, MJ1 Cirque du Soleil, Who's Bad shows, whatever, what was your favorite thing ever? Pick one.
I'm just debating between the Broadway show and the show we went in Chicago.
Okay.
So I think probably the Broadway.
The Broadway. Okay, MJ the musical. Yoo-hoo, you got it. And the last question. What is it like to date a huge Michael Jackson fan?
I mean, it's fun because I'm not a huge traveling person myself, but she always plans something to travel, and so even though she planned something to do like a Michael Jackson related, we plan a bunch of other things around it. So it's good, it helps me to travel more as well. And it's interesting. I mean, for me, I'm not a big fan of any artist myself or anything in particular, like a hardcore fan, but it's a different perspective, and I think it's definitely interesting. But yeah, I mean, I love you, and I think it's it doesn't change anything for me. Just you being a Michael Jackson fan or not, or you being a fan of any other artist. So
okay, so yeah, it's fun. It's so that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed and got to know a little bit more about like what is going on as a perspective of a no Michael Jackson fan to whatever Michael thinks is happening. And we can talk later after the Michael movie, because he's gonna watch next year with me once the Michael movie comes out, and we can get some perspective from me and from him. But thank you so much, baby, for joining today.
Nice being here. Nice talking to you guys.
All right, thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
See ya.